Hey, Elena, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So my name's Elaina Lyons. I'm a marketer by day and a writer by every other time of day, by night and whatever I'm not working. So yeah, I wrote the Love You Know, but we'll probably talk about that. But yeah, that's me.
Love it. I would love if you could tell us more about what your book is about.
Sure. So the Love You Know is it's I hesitate to call it a romance novel because I never thought I would write a romance novel. But it kind of is. It's basically just the story of a woman who is torn between different choices and different paths in her life, and she is kind of stumbling along making really bad choices while she figures everything out.
Love it. What inspired you to write your book?
Um, I think it just kind of happened pretty organically. I've always been a writer, but I've never before this book, I was never able to write a novel length piece. It was always short stories. And this one I thought was going to be the same. I just started writing it and it just had a life of its own and I just kept writing it and it happened that way. I think I just kind of I'm a volunteer firefighter, and the main character is a firefighter, and I think I kind of being in that environment definitely inspired me a lot. And so I feel like I really wanted to write something about a firefighter. I didn't know where it was going to go, but this is where it ended up.
Love that. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
I think it's for people who how do I put this? I think it's kind of for people who feel like they don't have anyone to relate to or talk to. And I think that that kind of sounds cliche, but at the same time, the book is about it's about infidelity. It's about people who um basically people who cheat on each other. Like that's that's what the book is about, and that's not something that's really talked about. That's definitely not something that's empathized with. And I'm not saying it should be, of course, but what I am saying is I feel like I kind of wanted it to be for people who are maybe they've made some decisions that they can't tell other people about. Maybe they're ashamed of their decisions or they just don't know how to make the right decisions. Like a lot of times in life you just keep doing the wrong thing, you can't get out of that cycle. And I think that's kind of where the main character lives. Like her life is just one big mistake happening over and over again. And I feel like there's so many like I've had times in my life where I just kind of felt like, oh my God, I cannot make the right choice to save my life. I just keep doing the wrong thing. So I feel like it's for people who maybe feel like they're stuck in that cycle and they don't have someone to relate to kind of say, help me get out of this. Like, what am I doing? So,
Love that. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
um, I have been writing since I was really, really young. I've always wanted to be a published author since I can remember. Um, my first, my first, like, when you're really, really little and you write like what you call poems and stories, and it's just god awful. But ever since then, what I thought were masterpieces at the time. Um, yeah, I think what kind of made me want to start was the feeling that I had something to say, not necessarily something that people would want to read, but I just felt like I had something that I wanted to get out. And I think it's a really good whether you intend to publish or do anything with what you write, I think writing is just a great way to get things out, just like purge from your system, just like, get all this stuff out instead of holding it all in.
Love that. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Um, I oddly enough cannot write at home, which is very strange, but the creative juices do not flow. So I have to go to like a specific place. Usually there's this coffee shop um that I go to, and for some reason that energy is like perfect. So Usually, we'll try to go there, a couple times a week and right after work. And then the rest of it is just jotting down notes so that I can write when I get to the coffee shop. Um, but I think it's just too much me in my environment, and I need it to be somewhere where my character would live, if that makes sense, you know?
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Um, Coffee and music, but not with lyrics. I can't listen to someone singing because it, like, distracts me, but I'm the same way with, what like, when I'm reading, when I was in school, when I did homework, I couldn't it had to be, like, without lyrics, without, just classical movie scores usually, but that and coffee together, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
Sweet things, usually I get the same coffee. I get a mocha and a chocolate chip cookie, and that is what I write with every single time. I'm a creature of habit. I hate it about myself because I always go in and I'm like, "I'm gonna try something new today," and then I do not do that. But that's literally my writing food all the time.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I love the classics. I'm not super into newer books. I love anything by F. Scott Fitzgerald, George Orwell. They're my favorites. And then the newer ones, I love Mitch Albom, John Green. Um, but anything that I don't like, I hate cliches. So I kind of go toward either their very original stuff, like the classics, or just stuff that really makes you think. I like closing a book and continuing to kind of marinate, after you're done reading, and I think, Mitch Albom does an incredible job of that. Like, he's absolutely amazing, and so does John Green. It's the kind of thing where you there's so many lines, like, I have posters in my house with, like, lines from different books, and several of them are John Green. Um, One of them was, "It hurt because it mattered," and I just absolutely adore that line. But, yeah, I mean, so anything that makes you think and leaves you thinking, I think is what I enjoy.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Um, Definitely, I would say Mitch Albom did. I think the first well, no, Tolkien was the first one because I read The Lord of the Rings and I was like, "Oh my god, you can do this?" Like, I remember when I read that, I was like, "Oh my god, he created an entire world. Like, that's insane." And I remember thinking, I can't imagine doing something like that. So he was definitely the first one to inspire me, and then Mitch Albom, I love his writing style. It's so easy to read, it's relatable, just it's so it's like it's almost like you're writing the story, he's absolutely incredible, and yeah, so he absolutely inspired me beyond, after the Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Love that. What type of books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
I grew up reading pretty much everything. Um, I think as a kid, my favorites I think my all-time favorite book is probably 1984 or Animal Farm because it's just so good. But when I was a kid, I think my favorite was probably The Hobbit. I pretty much read anything, um, but I love the classic anything I mean, I like reading Shakespeare, I'll read anything.
Love that. On the opposite side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you're gonna automatically grab it?
Um, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of his name, but Matt, I think it's Haig. He wrote The Midnight Library and, um have, like, all his books, I can't think of the names of them. Um, but and How to Stop Time, I think was him. Um, but I'll read pretty much anything he comes out with. Anything John Green writes, I'll read. Anything Mitch Albom writes, I'll read. And I do, like, as soon as they come out with a book, I'm at Barnes& and Noble, I'm getting it immediately. And I think those are really the only ones that I will drop everything and immediately read their books.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
I would say don't pick something that's super overwhelming. Um, maybe The Stand by Stephen King is not the best choice if you're first getting into getting into reading. It's very, very long. Maybe pick something shorter, but stick to a genre that really interests you already. Because there's a lot of books that I'm sure you kind of feel this way, but like there are some books that are challenging to read, whether it's because of the material or how it's written, or just because it's not your usual style, and doesn't mean it's bad in any way. It could be the best book you've ever read, but it's a challenging read. And if you're not into reading that much, that's not going to make you want to keep at it. So I would say pick something that is right up your alley, something like maybe the same genre as a TV show that you really like. If you really like period pieces, maybe go for something like that in the written word. So I would just say stick with something that you're really gonna like, and then kind of go from there.
Love that. On the opposite side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
I would say don't worry, and this is advice I give myself. Don't think about who is going to read it and if they'll like it. Think about why you're writing it for yourself. Because if you get caught up in nobody's gonna read this, what if they hate that I made this choice? What if they don't like this character? What that you're never gonna publish it. You're never gonna even finish it. There's always going to be people who do not like it. There are people who have said to me, "I'm sorry, but because of the subject matter, I will not read your book." And I'm like, "Okay, that's your choice. You don't have to read it. That's fine." But if I had let that those like ideas get to me, I never would have finished the book because there's always going to be people who don't want to read it. I'm sure there's people who hate Stephen King. There's probably people who hate Mitch Albom. There's people who hate F. Scott Fitzgerald. That's even Hemingway probably had people who didn't like it. There's that just happens. So I would say just remember how writing makes you feel and write because of that. And if you publish it, great. And if you don't, fine. But just do it for you.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I'm a firefighter for sure. A lot of people are surprised about that. Um, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, that's probably the thing that is most surprising to people. Yeah.
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
Um, I would just say always be willing to give new authors a try. Whether it's, indie authors or just someone that you haven't read before, I would say just try it because you really never know um, if you're gonna like something. And it's so hard for new authors to break out into published spaces. It's so difficult. And you just like not even buying the book, but if you're contacted about reviewing it, that helps. Reviews are the best thing ever. Reviews help. So I would just say just support even, not even just authors, but smaller artists, people who aren't big names, go out and support them as best you can because it makes a difference.
Love that. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Yes. So my book is pretty much available everywhere. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes& and Noble, Google Books, Apple, it's pretty much everywhere. The easiest place to find it is my website, which is elainalyons.com. And there's just a link and you can get it from anywhere following that link. Yes, absolutely signed copies, I can do that. The best way to get in touch with me is either through my website or following me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Elaina Lyons underscore LSM, and I'm on TikTok, just Elaina Lyons, and I'm on Facebook, so I'm very accessible. But yes, I would happily sign and send, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you.
Awesome, thank you so much for having me, it's been fun.
Love